Daja how, finally, after a few months of testing, me and my friend Paolo Simeon are ready to give you our personal opinion about the Sigeyi AXO-PowerMeter. Curious to hear that? Gan voilà! So, before I start this video, I invite you to take a look at my previous video about this Sigeyi AXO-PowerMeter, where I focus more on the technical information and the first impression about it, because on this video I will talk more about how it's training with it. And this is the first time for me reviewing a power meter, and being a pro rider I had the opportunity to test a lot of power meter that came from brand more known and with a longer history than Sigeyi, but I can safely say that this power meter can compete in a good way with all of them. Now let's see it more in details. So, how is the daily life using this power meter? Let's start saying that, in my opinion, in a power meter the most important thing is the consistency between one day to the other more than the accuracy. Let's start to say that if you are going to buy a power meter, probably you are going to follow a plan of training using the watts, of course. And in this case, what you want is to do your FTP test, find out what's your FTP using the power meter, and you want to train using those watts. And to do that in a correct way, the power meter must be always calibrated in the good way and always be reliable day after day without any big difference. So if I go to do a climb at 250 watts today, the day after that training I want to do the same climb at the same power and the time should be the same. And this is not easy to find in a power meter, and I need to say that this is where the Sigeyi power meter excels, because in 3-4 months of training I never had any problem, and the power was always very reliable. And yeah, we also don't forget the accuracy, because it's also an important part for a power meter, especially if you want to compare with your friends saying, oh, I did this amount of watts for 10 minutes and this and that. Yeah, I know that's one of the most important things for you, especially if you're looking at Strava. So let's say that Simeon compared this power meter with the Favero Axioma and find out that it's very similar to them, and the accuracy was between 1 to 2%. That is super good for a power meter at this price. I also need to say that all my first impressions that you can find on the old video were confirmed during these 4 months of training. I changed bike, and moving it from the old one to the new one was very easy. My Brighton found it always in just a few seconds, and also the automatic calibration is very useful for lazy people like me that never want to calibrate power meter, but they just want to go to ride their bike. And also the battery, I charged it the first time, and I just charged it one time like 2 weeks ago, because I had to update a firmware, and the app that is very useful, also the app that you can find on the Play Store and on the App Store, is very useful if you are training indoor, or now it's very common for people to use their phone instead of the bike computer. For those people, also the app can be a very good tool, and is very useful and easy to use. So, is it all good about this power meter? The only thing I noticed during these 4 months of training that they can improve is the reliability of the peak power, especially when if I do normal sprint around 1300 watts, I think that is very reliable, but when I sprint at full power above 1600 watts, I see that it struggles a little bit to give me correct numbers, but this has been very common with all the power meter I've used in my career, and actually it's not so important for training, because when you sprint at max power, you just sprint at max power and you don't stay there looking at your power meter. So it's something that I don't notice at all, but it's a review, so I think it's important to tell you this. But now let's hear what my friend Paolo Simeon has to say about that. He used it during races. That is the perfect place to test a power meter, so let's go to hear what he has to say about it.
Hi guys, so I'm here after 2 months that I use Sigeyi power meter, and I'm very happy. I use it in many 2.1 races with many World Tour teams, and I have to say that it's a very good power meter because I compared it with some power meter that I used before, and Sigeyi give me every day a real number, not spike and not fake numbers. And it's very good to train because every day you can have the same data and it's perfect. So useful also for the battery life is good. And if you have to charge it is very easy, and also the price is a super price, and for the daily use is perfect.
Thank you, Paul, for your opinion. And so, in the end, after this review, I am still going to use the Sigeyi AXO-PowerMeter. The answer is yes, because of its consistency day by day, and I never had a problem in 4 months, so I don't see why I should change it or buy another one. And if you're thinking to buy a new power meter for the next season, I suggest you to take in consideration this power meter, because at this price will be very difficult to find a better one, in my opinion. I leave you here below the link to their shop, where you can find the power meter and also their other products, some of them which I'm testing. And if you have any comments, opinion, if you already tried it, let me know here in the comments below. I'll be very happy to answer the question and read all of them. And woman Schatz, Zaijian.